It's really not too terrible out there right now, is it? I mean, I was kind of surprised. I always come back from Florida. I read the temperature and I think, oh my goodness, it's going to be so cold. And I get home and I'm like, this isn't so bad. It's warm in the sun and it feels pretty good. I think the hardest thing we deal with is the inversion, and it causes a lot of problems for us, right? We have a lot more illness from that kind of thing than we get a lot from a lot of other things. And it's actually warmer at the resorts because they're up higher, and so they aren't dealing with any inversion. So if you want to get warm, just go up to the ski resorts and you'll get all warmed up. Anyway, so we were talking about recovering in place, and I hope you got the email that talked about that. But I think the really interesting thing that we both talked about was, this COVID experience has done something really interesting for all of us. It's forced us to stay in. We haven't been able to do out like we usually would, no matter whether what any kind of out used to look like. We have to stay in a lot more, and it's forced us to be introspective. It's forced us to be kind of more alone and kind of deal with ourselves a little bit more. And there are a lot of things that we can recover from that we didn't even know about. It might be a cold, it might be shame, it might be anxiety, it might be some past hurt that we're dealing with. And there are lots of ways that we can work on recovering and moving on in our lives. And I actually can see that this COVID's giving us a new experience. It's given us an opportunity to help us learn how to recover. So it is time to recover. It's time for all of us to recover. And we can start recovering by trusting what we hear internally from ourselves. If we can move past the stuck of the angry voices, and then we can get down to really hearing what's really true. That's really going to make a difference for who we are, how we approach life, and let the swirl and the hurricanes of the problems outside stay outside, and trust ourselves to find direction and find higher health on all levels: emotional, spiritual, physical, all levels of health and new meaning. And we can sometimes it's hard to start that, but the best way I believe to do it is just by choosing something small, and find a small success. It could be having a vision board, and on the vision board you put one thing on it that really has meaning to you in your life, and you start holding on to that, and saying something special that helps you remember that you want that thing in your life, that you need it, that it's an important part of your life, and it helps us to have a better life. So you can work with your stress response instead of with trying to push it away. And I think that's a lot of times we think, okay, I've got the stress, I've got to, I got to push it, push it, push it. And even when I was dealing with having a really bad cold while we were in Florida, I listened to my body, and I recognized that it was actually my way of not dealing with stresses that I had had from my past, and taking on the responsibility of other people's challenges as if they were my own, and acting that way. And so as a result, I was trying to push it away instead of accepting that, and then being able to let it go through me and recognize that there's a good thing about that. And the good part about me having that is that I can see what's happening in other people's lives, and I can step in and help out if they'll allow that. And so you can work with your stress responses instead of fight against them. And you can even see, one of the things you can do is you can eat more carefully. And I know you both do, and we try to do that as well. It makes a big difference in our lives, because then your body has the fuel it needs to get past those kinds of stresses. I think it's not moving. Okay. And so we can keep our routines, choose to serve other people, focus on a new goal. That's always helpful. That's what I was talking about with the I keep doing this, but it's the, come on, Mark, help me out here.
Vision board.
Vision board. I'm pointing over there because I have my vision board over on the wall over there. And we can be aware and reset. We can stay present. Now, we talked about that and staying present. And one of the things I love about essential oils, this one's Holiday Joy or Harvest Spice, actually. I still have Harvest Spice hanging around. Um, it just brings you where you are to the present. You can't fake smelling something in the future because you haven't smelled it yet. So you can worry about things in the future, right? But you really can't do anything about it. So this oils bring us back to the present. And they can also conjure things up from our past so we can deal with negative things. And also we can conjure up better things for our future by remembering good smells. I know that sounds funny, but it's true. And then they also help us relax. They actually can change our brainwave patterns so that we have better responses. It helps us to actually be responding to rather than reacting to the stresses that we have so that we're aware on a higher level of what we're dealing with. And then we can self-care, right? So I wasn't doing very good self-care for my when we were in Florida at the beginning. I was trying to take care of everybody else's dilemmas, and they weren't real dilemmas. It was just like making too much food and things like that and trying to do it really fast. So we'd have a great Thanksgiving. Well, we were going to have a good Thanksgiving. I should have just bought it all when I picked up. Somebody wanted a honey baked ham. Now, I don't know if that's part of your holiday. It's not ours, but one of the groups had thought that you had to have that. So I stood it in a line for a honey baked ham for over an hour. And I even had a reservation. I still stayed in there, and they were out of all of their sides and all this stuff. Anyway, and I'm like, you know, if you're going to eat a honey baked ham, you might as well eat the potatoes they make and the beans they make and everything that people want. But I made it all right, so I didn't have time for self care. That's the whole problem. So a lot of times, we have to be aware and make sure that we're doing that. And whatever our self-care is, whether it's going out for walks, going on a run, reading a great book, laughing, seeing a funny movie, just doing something that really is a good self-care, taking a nice long bath, doesn't matter to me. And then keeping our emotions balanced. So we respect all emotions. That's the very first thing. We respect all emotions equally, whether we're angry or whether we're sad, which is actually an interesting emotion that is about expectations. We respect all of them evenly. And then we look at them and say, oh, look what I'm experiencing. And that's how we can keep them balanced. We listen to them, we hear what their message is for us and say, oh, I'm experiencing a lot of anger. I wonder what that's about. Or I am super happy. Wonder what's causing that, just so that we can understand our emotions that we're having, and then we can learn to respect them. We can use essential oils. That's another way to help do that, right? We can use all of the emotional aromatherapy oils, all of them, because they will help bring out the emotions that we're having that we might have buried. And then we can look at them and say, oh, look, I really need to console myself, or, oh, I still am harboring that. I need to forgive that. We can deal with all that. We don't have to condemn it. We just like, okay, I'm going to respect all those. So the essential oils will help bring those out. Meditating will also help that. That's a listening. And then we can calm with them too, so that if we have something that's raging, we can just relax it. And then we can reprogram these responses that we have by listening to them, by talking with them, talking through it with ourselves. And we can change the negative or overwhelming responses that have been programmed into our brains for years by using these oils, and start the healing process instead of band-aids. Instead of saying, okay, I'm not going to deal with that. I'm going to go, do I call it the crisis response. So you put yourself in crisis, and then what do you have to do to get out? You got to go just do nothing. It's not something you even love. You have to go eat your worst favorite food, whether it's, 5 bowls of ice cream, or, do a huge binge watching of movies, or whatever it is. Those are band-aids, right? For emotional responses. And then we can find out what our body wants to change. So for me, I found out that I was dealing with tons, just loads, like a heavy burden of shame. And I started like unlayering it and just saying, okay, what is the shame that I'm dealing with? And realizing that shame is most of it, the shame that we carry happens to be responses that we might have been schooled into by our family ways. So if we don't hold up our family patterns, we can get really shamed. And it just holds on to us until we decide, okay, we appreciate that what our parents were doing for us and the things that we were doing in our family, but we're just going to put that on a shelf now and look at it instead of carry it. And then we don't have to carry that shame in us anymore. And then we can set goals to change habits that might have been created as a result of these negative or ways of dealing with emotions. And we can do it, and it'll take us about, depending on your superpowers, between 21 to 30 days. And there doesn't seem to be, the consensus is 21 to 30 days. It's really funny. I'm not sure why it's either 3 or 4 weeks, but there's and what we do is we change ourselves out of the habits of the emotions that we've decided are what we need to pattern in our lives. And we do that with meditating, with putting up affirmations, with using essential oils, with allowing these emotions to come out so that we can start to let them be what they are, but not carry the shame of past or the shame of our family patterns. We don't need to do that, and allow our body to really make the changes it can do. And then be aware that the pain in your body has messages. It's actually messaging to you, and it'll help you deal with what you needed to deal with. And then you can begin to release it all. So did I really start to release all this shameness that I had in me? Oh yeah. Yes, I did. I could name exactly, I could see what it were, the causes, the shame that I was carrying. And I didn't even realize it was going to come up. I didn't even know that I had it. But this old friend kind of a cold is actually my body's way of reminding me, you got to deal with something here and you need to do it now. And if you put it off again, it's just going to show up for you again. You can bury it again, but it's just going to come back. And so be aware and then start dealing with it and relate.
That's the one that's the hardest for me to remember, because I've worked through a lot of things in my life with, working through emotional issues and that kind of thing. And when I'm feeling emotional pain, I get the connection that, I'm dealing with an emotional issue. But I often forget that when I'm dealing with a physical pain, unless it's like I fell off a cliff or something.
Right.
But when I'm dealing with a physical pain, it's my body telling me, hey, there's something going on here. And my initial response is, I just got to get rid of the pain. I've got to medicate it and not medicate it. I treat it with natural solutions, but try to get rid of it, push it away. And I find that if I would just stop and ask the question, what is this trying to tell me? What is the message here for me?
Right.
That there's really a lot of insight that comes from that.
Thanks. Appreciate that. And that's so true. I appreciate you adding that. Let's turn the next one. So this is a really great one to just help us kind of pull back from all that emotional overload that happens immediately. And so that we can start to focus on our recovery. Other things that you might do that can help actually are not hiding the pain, but helping us cope with it enough so that we can move into being able to talk with it. And that is, you can use all those other oils. You can use the deep blue internals. You can use the copaiba. You can use all those things. They will help, reduce the amount of the response level, so that you can start thinking, okay, what am I really dealing with here? And I love how adaptive health says, get out of that anxiousness and worry loop. I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm, really into an OCD type of situation where I'm only dealing with the frontal cortex here, and I'm just going around in circles and circles with it, instead of moving myself into to a larger perspective, and really being able to get myself into a jump start and move out of it. Yarrow Pom is actually a super good one for me to rejuvenate my body, and it also helps jumpstart my immune system. So it's a really good one. You know, for me, I'll often have, like, I have that terrible cough that I get. Well, if you get something in your lungs, a lot of times in the emotional healing world, they suggest that that has something to do with grieving. So I go for it. I go into it. I say, okay, if this is grieving, explain, help me understand how to release this grieving. And so I just start to really go through the levels of grief and allowing my body to grieve through the grief. And then, and it can happen super fast when you're not actually in the middle of that grief right then. If it's something that was way in the past, you can move through those levels of grieving in, a matter of an hour rather than a matter of years, because you've already done that part of it. You've done the years of grieving stuff, so you can move out of it lots faster. And then so my question is, maybe it's not you, maybe someone you love is struggling with anxiousness and fear, and those are gateway emotions that will actually stop us from being able to open up, because they're struggling with them and they're trying to band-aid them instead of accepting them and opening up to what they're anxious because of. What are the causing factors that are really creating these feelings that we have. Are we so worried about the future or something that's happened in the past that we're living it over and over and over again? And we got the OCD all the time. We're going into that frontal cortex area. We're doing fight or flight all the time, instead of saying, okay, I'm recovering in place. I'm here. I'm going to do this. It's going to happen. And I've got the time to take care of it. And I'm going to use this time for that purpose of really being able to let go of what I'm not and allow who I am to show up for me. So breathe, meditate, talk, trust, use your oils, trust yourself, talk to a friend, talk to a professional. The idea that the 5 people you talk with most will influence your destiny, it seems to be pretty true, right? If you're talking to yourself and that's all, you're gonna kind of go crazy. But you will also, that's going to be your only messenger. So if you need somebody if you're talking to the same 5 people and you're not hearing the answers, and that you're dealing with too much of this other stuff, look outside of it. Seek others that have a different perspective. See if you can turn your cube of perspective and see another angle that maybe you haven't looked. Meditating is so imperative right now. We've got to meditate because the messages are so angry and so worrisome, and so they require us to make sure that we understand that we are not causing this, that the messaging that's happening is way outside of us, and we've got to keep it outside of that. And meditating helps us to see us and what our divineness is, and have our opportunity to talk to our higher source, God, and be able to have that experience of knowing that we're enough, that we're good, that those messages are coming from all sides, but not us. And then journaling, right way, every day, even if it's a sentence, just, I am feeling blah, 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 or I experienced, I'm finished with la, 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 or I trust my own messages. Those are all great things that we can do, and set a habit in process right now to do this on a daily basis, to take that time, to use your oils, to use your meditation, to breathe, to talk with someone. And even if it's only yourself, but find somebody else, it's a good idea. And then the brain is a gatekeeper and a funnel. So we can let funnel things come in, or we can use it to stop what we want from coming in, and we decide what we're going to let in. And we can use muscle testing and other non-invasive approaches to learn how to listen to our body's needs. And if you don't know what those are, catch me after and we'll explain that. And then you can also listen for messages and hear them as helpful and not hurtful from ourselves. We can change the way our brain is working for ourselves. And you will recover in place. And I know each one of you can. So we'll turn over Mark. He's got like no time left. Sorry about that, honey. But he's going to go through powers of routines and structure.
I'm going to go through this real quick. A lot of this Cynthia has covered already. So the COVID situation really took us out of our routines. We were all in our routines of what we do every day, where we take our family, where we go to work, et cetera, et cetera. And suddenly that's just all out the window. So what I found has been really important for me is is to have my daily routine, and I call it my AM PM practice. And I start every day and I end every day with this practice, and it includes my mindset work, so my declarations, my vision board, my meditation. I'm a praying man, so I pray, and that's all part of it. And I've found I just Cynthia has her
That's a
checklist
little
here
card.
that really
AM PM.
works for her, AM PM. And I've added smelling an oil, which I wasn't doing as part of that routine. And Cynthia talked about how it really brings you present, and it really helps me to connect emotionally and to ground and to center. And so I've made that a part of it too. So I start my day that way and I plan my day, and then I go through my day, and at night I do it as well, and it grounds me, and then I can kind of report back on, check off on how that went. Awesome. I found if I fudge on this, my day goes a lot worse. If I skip it, if I fudge on it, it's just like, oh man.
Me too.
Things get off track.
I have no idea how they get off track.
There's so much less structure out there going on that I need to have that structure and that routine in my life. So I highly recommend that. The other thing is, here's some, I'm just going to throw this idea out there. I could talk about this for a couple of hours, but I'm just going to plant.
Maybe we'll do it again next week.
Plant the seed.
We could do it next week.
Should we do it next week?
Yeah, we'll just tell them that.
Okay. Let's just do it next week.
Okay. There you go. That's your catch.
Yeah, that's the teaser.
That's the teaser. Woo, woo. Because we're going to hold our half hour. So you know where to find these oils. And if you have friends who are in need of them, I invite you to share at this Christmas season. Share what you know, share what you have, share even if it's just the smells of wonderful Christmas time, whether it's pine or, I had somebody walk in to my house. Well, it's my daughter actually yesterday. And she's like, oh, it smells like Christmas in here. And all I'd done was take cassia, and I had cleaned my countertop with cassia. I hadn't even thought about it. Right. So it's just the cinnamon, the two types of cinnamon that we have in doTERRA, and I just put that out, and suddenly her mood lightened up, and she was so much happier, and she just kept having these happy thoughts. Right, that fast we can do that for other people, and it's such a wonderful way to do that. So I invite you to share, even if it's in a little gift basket or something. Just put a couple little of those bottles of a favorite smell, and let someone enjoy the season and have a little smile on their face, because there are a lot of frowns going on right now behind those masks. And we can have some more happiness, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to be doing my sprays again, and I'm going to be giving a lot little oils. I've made some wood ornaments. I'm going to put some oils on my wood ornaments, and I'll probably use cassia or cassia, however you want to say it. And I'll just put that on there, and maybe I'll use the harvest spice, or just something, or the holiday joy, or what's the other one, the winter pine one. Can't remember the name of it. You'll help me. But anyway, that one. So we can share those and help other people have that joy in their lives. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday, and we'll be talking again. We got another week before everything starts to fall apart again. And so I do have a question for you. Do you all know muscle testing? Are you all familiar with different ways to muscle test? You're both on mute. I'm just curious.
Yes, I'm familiar with some.
Okay.
Well, maybe,
Which ones do you use?
um, for me personally, I use the leaning forward. I hold it in front of me and lean forward. I've
Yep.
seen others do the arm.
Mm-hmm.
What was the naturopath? What was his name? He would test you with your arms.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
And then there's something about a your hands, the
Yeah.
C and the something, I don't know.
The ring.
The rings.
Yeah, that one.
I use the ring a lot for helping other people. Excuse me. Um, when we're testing what kind of oils are going to work the best for them, I'll use that one because it's a really fast and an easy one. They put up their hand, stick an oil in their other hand, and then just have them say, this is good for my body. That was pretty good, not really good. Harvest spice isn't a good one for him. How about oregano? Stick that one in. I know that's been good for him right now. That's good for my body. Okay, that held really tightly. That's all the more you have to pull, because without it, I can pull him apart like that fast, and there's no way around it. It just holds it. It's pretty amazing. And I'll say, okay, 1 roller, 2, 3, 4. Okay, between 2 and 3 rolls. So every time he uses it, and he even knows where. That's why he has it on his half-length hands. So he needs to put that on to keep the infection down on that. But it's really fascinating. You can do it that fast. I did that with one person that was just a mystery to me. She had like 10 things going on. I had no idea what to go after. And so went through the whole thing, and she just kind of looked at me like, are you serious? Is this going to work? I'm like, well, just trust me on it, and let's see what happens. She's no longer on any medications. And I've seen that happen so much. And she doesn't even want to deal with it ever again. She just doesn't have to deal with medications, period, anymore. So, but I could never do that on my own. I could not just say, I couldn't even read the book and come to that much of a conclusion. But I can do this. I can say, oh, okay, I can adaptive. And you can do it for yourself. But I found that it's really hard for me to do it to myself when I'm in kind of like my own pain levels, right? But I can do the lean forward. I've done that a lot.
Gail, have
Anyway.
you
Yeah, what do
used
you use?
testing?
I have, but I've done the one that Stacy said about the arm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like the arm. The only problem with it is your arm gets really tired after a while.
Yeah.
But I use that when I go into my chiropractors.
Well,
I use that one.
it's really interesting. I'm a convert because when I first got introduced to this a few years back, I was just like, this is like way out there. And but it works for me. It's
awesome.
usually right on. It's quite interesting. Listening to your body really works.
Yeah. So you can try some different ways if you want to. They're pretty good. You can, yeah. The reason I like the finger one is it doesn't seem to take the body. It doesn't seem to be as stressing on the body as the arm one. And the leaning forward one, I use that for myself. I've done that a lot. How many drops do I need? What do I need to do with this? But I don't like to do it in a store. But I do, I can do the rings in the store. I don't feel quite so weird. So if I this is the peppermint, the new peppermints. So you can stick it to your body and say, I need peppermint in my body, and it'll move you forward and backwards. So I love all those. I'm glad you do that. I'm glad you understand that they work, because that's super important. And we can listen to our body. So that's just listening to your body. That's listening to your body and respecting how the body can work for you. And do you have any questions from what we said, or did I go through that? I went pretty fast, but I think you all know these things already. So,
or I would be interested, what kinds of things have you guys found to be helpful in dealing with all the stress and change of sheltering in place?
Yeah.
How have you been healing or recovering in place?
Yeah. I'd like to know that too.
Go ahead, Stacy.
Dr. Pepper? Did I hear Dr. Pepper? Was that one I heard?
That was just Thanksgiving dinner.
I've discovered some fudgesicles that I didn't know existed.
Okay, we're going to listen to them.
What about you?
Well, since I work from home mostly, I only go into work 1 day a week,
Mhm.
and then it's only for a couple of hours. Um, I discovered that if I allow myself, I won't even go out of the house all day. If I don't have a specific place to go or be, sometimes it'll be nighttime and I'll go, wow, I haven't even been
There you go.
outside.
Wow.
So sometimes I have to force myself,
Mhm.
go get the mail, go get the newspaper, or
Yes.
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Man, I do relate to that, Gil. That is exactly what I find happens to me.
So something to break up the routine, and do you find getting out of the house really helps?
Yes, the
Yeah.
the fresh air helps. Just the change of pace. Um, it really helps to get outside. I feel really bad for the people that are truly shut in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
can't get outside.
Well, if
Sure.
it would help, we could arrange to erect a mailbox about 26 miles from your house, and then you could just kind of
Yeah.
go out for a little.
26 point. And Stacy, since you're dealing with a lot of high stress situations, I'm sure, how do you deal with that for yourself?
Um, well, with working full time as a nurse and often on the COVID unit and stuff, we've had a few really stressful days, others, not as stressful, but um, usually when I come home from a day like that, um, some days, I've thought to myself, I really need to exercise. I don't want to do any high impact running. I'm just going to walk on my treadmill while I watch a Hallmark movie. Because I've sat in a chair so many times and watched a Hallmark movie after work. And I'm like, well, at least if I'm just walking on the treadmill, I can burn a few hundred calories,
Mm.
and just kind of get the blood flowing and feel like, I just never created
Yeah.
that time to exercise that day for me because I worked and then I was too tired.
Yeah.
Other days I've come home and I've fallen asleep and then it messes up my sleep cycle because I wake up at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning and then I'm up for a few hours and then try to go back to bed and then I oversleep my alarm and then I can't get to my exercise class or whatever it is. So
Mhm.
I don't know, but I do think that exercise is really important, trying to create that time somehow, non-impact when I'm tired. But like today I went out and I struggled with knowing, okay, should I just go to the gym and do some strength training because the air quality is so bad right now with the inversion.
Yeah.
But I knew it was going to be my only day to try to do a long run for the week since I worked the next couple of days. And so I thought, well, I'll go out. Had to cut it a little bit short because of other time commitments with grandchildren and stuff. But still, I was able to get a good 7 mile run in, with a 1 mile cool down afterwards. And I at least felt like I had done something, like I had, uh, um, I don't know,
I don't-
exercised and just got some, well, it
Yeah.
wasn't fresh air, but it was outside air.
Outside.
This is my personal opinion. I've never met an unhappy runner. I don't meet a lot of runners that are out crapping around, and same for I've said that about skiing too. On the ski slopes,
That's true.
you don't see a bunch of angry road rage people up there. I mean, they're having a great time and it's exhilarating. You
Because
know,
the mountains make you happy.
yeah,
Must be it. Yeah.
yeah. So I think
Mhm.
that that we get our bodies moving. I think they're meant to do that. And I think that you're
Mhm.
both really wise to know that. But I
Mhm.
think that's both you both recognize that you need to get out and do something. And
Mhm.
I have a hard time myself, like Gil was saying, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I need to get out of this place. I gotta go do something, right?
Well,
Yeah.
the change of scenery, some fresh air, just being out in nature, you can do that really with and maintaining your social distancing from people
Yeah.
to a large degree, unless, you have other health issues that prevent you from leaving your home and things like that. But it's so invigorating. It really is. Just get some fresh air and
Yeah.
get
Grab
out in
some
nature.
peppermint with you, right? So you can get some good breathing going.
I remember
Right.
one time I was working on a really crunch project and I was just like heads down, hour after hour trying to get through this thing. and I was in the house, or in the house or the office all day, and I got to a point where I was so tired I couldn't hardly even see straight. But I was just like, no, I've got to keep going. I've got to keep going. And I was just spinning my wheels. And finally, I said, I need to take a break. So I did just what you said. I went outside. I walked around. I got some fresh air, change of scenery. And then when I came back, I finished what I was working on in just like a half an hour. And I'd been working on it for hours before that. And I thought, I should have done this like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I wouldn't have had to suffer so much. So it really not only helps rejuvenate, but it really helps your focus and your ability to be productive as well.
Awesome. Okay, you wonderful people. We won't keep you any longer because we know it's time to get off. But we are really grateful that you're here. But I like to hear from you and what you're doing too, because it helps me remember. And even though we don't have a lot of people that are here, we have a lot of people that are interested in being here. So we'll just keep it up. And I know we'll have a lot. I have a lot of people who are very interested in watching the recordings. So it's awesome. So just know that we're thinking about you, and we're hoping the best for you and your holiday times and your times with your family. Happy Hanukkah started today. So if you want to, I'll send you the video of Jacob. He in Hebrew, he read us all three prayers for the day.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, and then we light our menorah. So yeah, we really do that. It's kind of interesting, but it makes me think about God. It makes me think about Jesus and light in the world and how much he loves us. And I think we all need those traditions. So I'm hope that you're able to do your traditions so that you can have God's light in your life right now too. Love you guys.
Okay. Take care, guys.